So today's session is slightly different. It's going to be more cardio based, using the Skillmills so we can put a lot of stress through the body in multi directions, which we'll come on to. It's great just for loading my knee. This is called warding, and we're going to come on to this more on other videos, but warding effectively improves stability and strength against multiple directions. And you can see John's pushing against me and just putting force through the whole body, but also challenging the knee at the same time. It's great for core stability and holding from the upright position. There's another form of warding. So a force is going to be generated from one plane and I'm just fighting against it. And again, we'll explain how this relates to sports and just everyday activities, how this can help with injuries and recovery from that as well. So most of my session now is cardio. It's going to be a low intensity, steady state. So I'm keeping my heart rate in the same zones, which I'll show at the end of the session. The Skillmills is brilliant because we're just challenging the body in multi-planes, which you can't do on a normal treadmill. So you can see when I come on to the heart rate zones, I don't want to ever get myself above 80%. So I'm using a heart rate monitor and I'm monitoring it the whole time. So just started off with walking drills, but you can do so many different variations. This was a steady climb. This is really tough on the glutes. It was good for my leg, but I could feel it. So I'd do this for about a minute and a half, keep an eye on my heart rate. Once it got back to 80%, then I'd stand up walking again. So you can see with this one, I was just changing my gait, so the way I was stepping, so I was stepping across the body. And you can see it's really challenging on my hips and getting my hips working. And this is how we was monitoring the heart rate. Keeping it in the green zone, which is from 70 to 80% of my maximum. So these are Skillmill pulls. Again, just changes the force that's going through my leg. I did this whole session for 30 minutes, so I was just constantly changing my positions, keeping an eye on the heart rate. Every time it went really high, I'd then go back to walking. So you can see there's so many variations. This one was targeting more on the back of the legs. You can take the resistance up, so you put a tiny bit more load through the legs. Then I was going in the frontal plane, which is side on. This side was a lot easier than when I span the other side and I had to lead with my bad leg. But again, in everyday life, I'm going to be moving around in different directions, different positions. So I need to start then putting that force through my body now, just so it gets used to it. And as the weeks go on, I'll start putting more and more load and using more equipment. So here's a summary of my session. It was around 35 minutes. It was all cardio. My maximum heart rate was 163 beats per minute, so it's never really over 80%. So I would call that low intensity, steady state. Most people seem to think that you have to smash it every time you go to the gym, but it's not the case when I'm recovering from my knee injury. This one next shows the zones to show how consistent I was. I was in the blue and green zone, and when I went into the yellow zone, which is zone 4, 80%, I then went up to walking and brought it back down again. And finally, this graph shows how long I spent in each zone. So it was 11 minutes in zone 2, which is up to 70%. And when I went above that, I was 18 minutes and spent most of my cardio session in there. And I was just playing around with the variations that you can do on the Skillmill. I ended the session with more hip mobility, which I do with, at the end of most sessions now. This is one of my favorite, stretches. And we're just going through 3 planes of motion. Really just targeting the hip the whole time. I'm just trying to bring my heart rate down and finish the session so I'm not so stressed. So at the end of the next one, if you can see my knee now, the swelling's actually been very good. I'm really happy with the progress so far. So stay tuned and hopefully we'll see more progression in the next few sessions.